Anyway, so Craig, the Obamacare lawyer, has unleashed to us several different updates that are really interesting that I wanted to bring to you kind of briefly, each one of them. But you remember he was talking about on the Armstrong and Getty show a year before anybody in the mainstream media caught on to this, that, yeah, these insurers were getting into Obamacare. They're happy to participate. Well, that's because the law said if any of them lost money, they'd get paid back. So, and theoretically, it would be anybody who made, and this is straight out of Jerry Brown's communist mouth, anybody who extracted excess profits from Obamacare, those excess profits, as designated by the government, would be spread around to the other insurance companies who lost money. And some insurance companies specifically designed what they did knowing they would lose money, but get paid back for it. They were rent-seeking. They were manipulating the government instead of trying to be good businesses. Well, as it turns out, there was a report out not long ago that the government was going to be 20% short of reimbursing insurance companies for the loss. Well, according to Standard & Poor's Capital IQ, which actually is advising companies on business, that it's going to be more like a 90% shortfall. They're going to have only 10% of the money to pay back the losing insurance companies. Now, that matters politically to you and me, the taxpayer, because either Congress is going to have to change the law, the Republicans in both houses, and say, yeah, we'll come up with the billions and billions of dollars to bail these people out, or all these insurance companies are going to be absolutely devastated and run screaming from the exchanges. Meaning there ain't going to be any insurance for a lot of people, and they'll have one company to choose from in other places. I
wonder how that's going to be presented politically. It's not going to be presented the way you just said it, by either side, I don't think.
Right. Well, you remember the Cromnibus bill that funded the government for 2015? Well, it says any bailouts that are not revenue neutral have to be appropriated specifically by Congress. So we'll see, because it's going to be presented to you that we're balancing the budget on the backs of the sick poor. And so they're going to be, the Obama administration is going to be howling for God knows how many zillion dollars to bail out the insurance companies. Again, some of whom did what they did specifically so the government would bail them out. It's really complicated. Can't get into it now.
Well, can this hang on into the next presidential administration, whoever that is?
Oh, gosh.
And what are they going to do with it?
Well, yeah. Depending on what happens with the law, how it mutates, because I think those birds are going to be coming home to roost pretty damn quickly. I mean, by the end of the fiscal year. But I don't know specifically. Maybe Craig can update us on that. But here's a great Freakonomics story, no matter what you thought of the law. One of the big reasons the law got through, Americans were convinced to support it enough that in the middle of the night, along strict party lines, Congress passed it by like one vote, was that, listen, these sick people, they don't have insurance, so they just go to the emergency room. Mm-hmm. That's why emergency rooms are so crowded, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there has been a significant increase in emergency room visits under Obamacare.
Why?
According to the American College of Emergency Physicians. 28% report of doctors, significant increases in emergency patients. Only 3% report any decrease at all. In addition, more than 56% said the number of Medicaid emergency room patients is increasing. Their best guess is, and it's going to take some Freakonomics teasing out of what's actually going. Number one, it is so hard to find a doctor who will see you on Obamacare. These people still can't get into their doctor. Or they're given an appointment for 6 weeks out. They're bleeding, or they got some active infection. So they're just going to the emergency room. And there is an aspect of this, too. A lot of the people who are uninsured and now have kind of the minimum insurance are just the sort of people who get sick and go to the emergency room because that's what they've always done.
Well, that's what I was going to say, combination of 2 and 3 there. Well, I've done it this way before. I get to go in whenever I want. I didn't pay for it before, and I'm not paying for it now.
Right.
So why would I want to make an appointment for 2 weeks from now when I can just show up and get taken care of right away, me or my kid or whatever? And I don't know why you'd change your behavior. Why would you?
Well, and as Craig pointed out during our mountain bike ride yesterday, there used to be hesitance on the part of at least some people who tended to run to the emergency room thinking, I could get stuck with the bill. They're going to try to bill me, and that could be a pain in the ass. But
that's
now
why I don't go.
Right. Well, now they've got the Obamacare card, so they know they're not going to even get billed or messed with or have collections people on their ass or whatever. So it's caused a significant increase in emergency room visits. Again, what do you want to do with that information in the law? I'll leave that up to you. Seriously, all I'm here to do, because I want people to understand, I do have an opinion about the law and what ought to be done about it, but I want people to understand what this massive, incredibly expensive social program is doing, what's actually happening.
I always wondered about that. For people who are using the emergency room as their family doctor, what would be the motivation to start making appointments and all that sort of stuff if you weren't paying for it either way?
It's an adjustment. There's no doubt. It's a lifestyle change. It's a way of looking at healthcare that changes. And then finally this, and by the way, just as an aside, the reason I bring this up, here's what we do in America. The voters I was just discussing, or certainly their crooked, lying, self-serving scumbag representatives, is we come up with this idea that sounds good, so we start an agency or a bureaucracy or a 2,000-page law or whatever, and then we never look at it again. And it gobbles up billions of dollars. It goes on for decades. It duplicates other programs. It doesn't work. But it never gets looked at again. Why do you think we have such a multi-trillion-dollar monster of a government? Finally, this. The AP, which I have frequently lambasted for being too lefty, because it's a bunch of 24-year-old journalism majors who have no life perspective, and they have their political beliefs and they're entitled to them. But anyway, headline from AP: Obamacare leads to growth in food stamp dependency. This is from Carla Johnson, David Mercer, writing for the AP. President Barack Obama's health care laws had a surprising side effect. It's not actually surprising to a lot of us, but
I get it. Healthcare side effect. This is some good writing.
In some states, it appears to be enticing more Americans to apply for food stamps, even as the economy improves. That sentence is a little questionable, because unless the economy improves in a way that stimulates wage growth, it really hasn't improved for most people. Now, streamlined application systems for the healthcare overhaul are making it easier for people to enroll in government benefit programs, a wide range, including insurance coverage and food stamps. State enrollment increases range from 1% to 6% over 2 years, according to an AP analysis. Nevada, what the hell? From 1% to 6%. Nevada shot up 14%. Well, then it's not 1% to 6%, it's 1% to 14%, you jackasses.
Food stamps help lots of people you know.
Wait, you use it too?
Yes, I do.
I'm dependent on the government, are you? West Virginia's food stamp enrollment increased 4% after Medicaid expansion. That was part of health care packages. Enrollment jumped because people were, quote, more engaged with our system and more aware of what they're eligible for.
So so it kind of fits in with that little clip we played. It's just the mainstreaming of government programs then.
Yeah, that's correct. And of course, once you become dependent on the government, you adjust your household budget, assuming the government will always pay for food for you and your children, so you can go off and buy other things.
Well, it just makes sense. That's an expense I no longer budget for.
Well, right. Why would you budget for it? That would be stupid.
And if it got taken away,
Obama money.
And if it got taken away, you'd be very mad, and it'd be hard to adjust back.
And politicians would say, my God, you want these families to starve? So we have grown dependence in this country enormously in this last 6.5 years. If you think that's a good thing, keep voting the way you're voting.
Yeah, good luck turning that around.
If you think that is a horrifying disaster for what used to be the bravest, fastest moving, most innovative country on earth,
then you're out of luck. I'll finish the sentence. You're out of luck because there's no turning it around.
Move with me to Ecuador and we'll start anew. We'll wave the red, white, and blue over the steamy jungles of Ecuador.
The steamy jungles of Ecuador.
Joe, do you have these conversations with Craig while you're biking? Like in the middle of biking?
Yes. Yes, and he has an astonishing capacity to hold forth on these subjects while we're grinding up some enormous hill, and hearts are beating wildly. I think
you're
he
not
has
supposed
a third lung.
You're not supposed to exercise beyond where you could have a conversation, is what they taught me back when I ran all the time.
Yeah.
And apparently you're not.